Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Dying Time is here. That's right. We're talking about Tales from the... What the fuck is it called again?
Darkside.
Tales from the Darkside. The movie. On Kill by Kill Boxes. Well, greetings and salutations, Internet. It's your old pal, Patrick Hamilton, coming to you once again from a very dilapidated mansion. This is the Kill by Kill podcast, where usually we talk about an entire movie's characters in the order in which they die. But in our off weeks, we have decided to talk about little segments of horror anthologies in the hopes that a hitman's untimely end is just the beginning of the jokes we might make at his expense. And as always, there's only one person I trust to make sure she kills enough cats to give me a miracle drug. The one, the only, Gina Radcliffe. How are you doing today, Gina?
Before we continue, I want to make a very serious announcement.
Of course.
I would like our audience to know that despite the events of this short feature, we will not be making any childish jokes, no puns, no plays on words. We are going to treat the fact that a character is killed when a cat forces itself down his throat with the quiet dignity that it deserves.
Truly, I mean, the passing of a legend, when you think about it, in the Hitman game, I mean, that's all anyone remembers from Tales from the Darkside. I didn't even remember the title of the movie, and I just watched it, Gina.
You know what? I saw this in the theater. And you were absolutely right. This is the only part I remember from this movie. I'm looking at this cast.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Steve Buscemi?
Yeah.
Julianne Moore? Debbie Harry? I was like, I have no recollection of any of that. Now, none of them are in this part. Let's make that, let me clarify. But they are in the movie overall. They are in the segment before this one, but I'm just agog at this cast list.
I did watch Lot 249 because when I saw that cast list, I thought, well, maybe that's the way to go. Sure, everyone remembers a cat deep throating a guy, but perhaps that, that's got so much star power to it. And, I'm, if I must be horny on Maine, kind of a Julianne Moore person. Like, I
mean, who isn't?
She's so fucking good looking, and she is not photographed particularly well. I mean, she's still gorgeous to a degree, but there's so many shadows crossing her that you can barely tell the difference between her and any other big-haired person in that opening tale. I mean, and it's like a mummy movie thing where like the mummy's going around and killing people. And I love those late market Universal mummy movies, which is basically a serial killer thing where you're just a monster roaming the town and just swiping at people and they just hit the desert ground and like, well, that guy's dead. I love those. And that's what I'm hoping for, but it just hides the weenie so much. There's barely any gore. And when you're talking about, ripping somebody open and stuffing them with flowers, I would like to see that, please. No, you don't get that. You don't get any of that.
Yeah, if memory serves, I think they do tease the whole concept of how supposedly in preparing a body for being mummified, they would pull your brain out through your nose. And I believe that is mentioned, but it's never, again, it's a cock tease. They never actually show it happening.
Right. No. That might as well have been on syndicated television for as sanitized a delivery as Lot 249 is in this movie. It's really only remarkable because the cast is like Christian Slater, Julianne Moore, Steve Buscemi, and Steve Buscemi, whose teeth are just the most caterwauled you've ever seen them. I don't know how it's possible that his teeth somehow got straighter as he aged, but he is a dewy youth here, and it literally feels like his incisors are outside of his cheeks.
Yeah, this might have been, I'm trying to remember if this was before or after the Coen Brothers mafia movie. But it would have been
Miller's Crossing.
Miller's Crossing, yeah. It would have been roughly around the same time, but I think this was one of his first like major films because he did mostly a lot of like independent film. But it's just, it's a funny movie to get your introduction to Buscemi in a killer mummy movie.
Right. Yeah. And Julianne Moore fares no better. Outside of the fact that you've never seen so much hair piled onto Julianne Moore.
Julianne Moore was funny. Like her early career, she kind of always played this sort of soap opera villainous type character. There was this, and she was also in The Hand That Rocks the Cradle.
Sure, yeah. She's the best friend in that one. Yeah.
Right. And she gets a head full of glass falling on her. But and then she ends up getting shortcuts, and then she becomes the Julianne Moore that we all know and love, the serious actress, capital S, capital A, Julianne Moore.
Yeah, and she was one Winnie the Pooh shot away from superstardom.
Carpet backs the curtains, baby.
Shortcuts is equal opportunity. We also get to see Huey Lewis's dick, and for that, it will forever, be high in my mind. But yeah, it just doesn't serve her well, and Christian Slater is just in low rent mode.
Well, he was just doing the Christian Slater thing. A sort of take on his character in Heathers, which is, what he did for a very long time. Yeah.
And, people go through eras, and obviously he's had highs and lows and sort of, waffled in between, had a comeback with Peak TV and whatnot. But it really does feel like he's like, it's like he's doing a favor for a friend. And that's the way it kind of comes off. And as a result, I'm like, there's just like nothing to talk about because it's not fully incompetent, but it's also not Banana Town. And I feel like if you're not going to give me incompetence I can make fun of, at least give me Banana Town so that I can enjoy the conversation about it. And unfortunately, Lot 249 just does not hit the mark. Nor do I feel like Debbie Harry is really doing transformative work as a witch who just has a very clean kitchen.
She's trying to eat a Lawrence brother.
Right, as we all do at some point in time.
That hair looks delicious.
It's true.
It's
not
so shiny.
Whoa for my tastes personally, but whoa is really said several times as he halts the cooking process in order to tell her stories from the Tales of the Darkside manuscript or master, the stories we'll eventually tell on the TV show book that he happens to have. It's basically a one scene reveal where she comes after the longest credit sequence of all time. That is like, you will believe that Debbie Harry can walk across the street. And eventually she gets home. And then there's a knob that's turning. You're like, well, that's odd. And then it's revealed there's a child chained to the wall. And that's as good as that ever gets. It never gets that good again. Where you're like, oh, a child chained to the wall? Now I'm into this. Was something that came to mind as I watched it. And that's it. It just ends after that. And she's kind of dead air. Everyone has a real dead air thing going.
Yeah, I think the only one that really tries to do something is in the one we're actually supposed to be talking about.
Right.
Is William Hickey.
I would argue that David Johansen is coming in hot. That's just my opinion.
Well, the thing is, they're both doing their thing,
right?
Like William Hickey. I don't know, to the youths in the audience, you probably know him best as Uncle Lewis in National Lampoon's Christmas
Lampoon's.
Vacation.
Yeah.
They want you to do the blessing. I think about that every Christmas. He also did the voice of the Doctor in Nightmare Before Christmas, and it's essentially playing the same character.
Yes.
Like this crotchety old man in a wheelchair.
Yes, I'm sure. I would almost believe they saw him in this and said, "We can make a better version of that."
I think you
And
might be. I
they
think
did.
you might be right. Yeah, it's essentially the same character.
Yeah, it's just like all of his experiments have gotten away from him, and he would like someone else to take care of it. Yeah, it's basically the same thing.
And David Johansen, who had a kind of bizarre career resurgence in the late 80s where he became an actor, was kind of a likable presence, but also very one note in this kind of like screamy, very heavily Queens accented guy. He was in a movie called Same Person Real Quick Change. It was about a racetrack. Can't remember what it was called. Richard Dreyfuss was in it, but he was in that.
Oh, Hot to Trot? That's
no.
Bobcat Goldthwait.
No, Hot to Trot is the talking horse one.
It's something about Lucky, but it's the movie which Richard Dreyfuss mysteriously becomes lucky, and he wins horse race after horse race after horse race.
Right, and of course he was in Scrooged. He was the Ghost of Christmas Past.
He's in Where Are You? The movie version of Car 54, Where Are You?
Yes, but again, kind of playing the same character.
He's always playing the same character, which is a guy from Queens who has a really large mouth.
And it was you constantly out of his depth.
Yes, right. The only time he's ever in control, I think, is Scrooged, and even then, it kind of feels like, well, the magic happens around me, and I just have crazy elf ears, and I yell at people. Is what it comes down to.
I mean, he does have for me the best sight gag in the whole movie, which is the hack license that says Christmas Past Ghost of.
Yeah,
I do love that.
Yeah, I do love the mallet scenes in Scrooged. Also, I love when Bill Murray shoots the Ghost of Christmas Future. I like all the gunplay in Scrooged, a movie known for great gunplay. What are we talking about again? Oh, all right, Tales from the Darkside. So, Tales from the Darkside has its origins as basically everyone rushing to come up with their own version of HBO's Tales from the Crypt, in a way. But also, it somewhat predates Tales from the Crypt's HBO run.
It does. Yeah, it's I would say it was more competing with the revival of The Twilight Zone and Alfred Hitchcock Presents. Also, when are we going to hit The Twilight Zone? Because there are two episodes that I still think about that I would love to be able to talk about at some point.
Are we talking the TV show or are we talking about the movie?
No, the TV show.
Okay. That's a good question. I suppose we could do an off-week Twilight Zone.
Because I would love to talk about the one that based on another Stephen King story, Grandma.
Oh, yeah.
And the one where she stops the fucking nuclear missile. When I tell you that I did not sleep for days after watching that. You remember that one, right?
I do. I didn't until you said it out loud.
Well, you're welcome.
It flashed into my head. Yeah. So, yeah, that's a stay tuned. I think we could figure something out where we talk about Twilight Zone. That certainly qualifies. Talking about the movie, however, gets a little tricky.
Well, yes.
Because we really don't like to talk about a lot of movies that were responsible for real deaths.
Well, no.
So, that's neither here nor there. But this also, it comes in the aftermath of like amazing stories, like launching really huge. And then you have Young Indiana Jones Chronicles kind of taking in
just
that
basically
slot.
like anthology were like very successful for a while.
Yeah, they just had a revival. And then this is a syndicated realm. So you also had Paramount dipping into that somewhat with the Friday the 13th, the series, which was had zero to do with the movie output. And then they also greenlit this, which George A. Romero was a producing partner on. Now, when Tales from the Darkside goes away, the people who were also part of this, but not Romero, end up creating a different syndicated program called Monsters, which was basically the same thing as Tales from the Darkside. But it's like, people we know will do television, we'll do it on the cheap, it'll have one great special effect, and we're out. That's kind of Tales from the Darkside's thing. But for whatever reason, they sold Paramount on doing a movie version of it. Now, this was made for pretty cheap, and it made 5 times its budget. So you can't say that it was a bomb in any way, shape, or form. It did very, very well. But no one ever said, let's do another one.
It had like, it's one of those mysterious, successful movies that had no cultural impact whatsoever.
Yes. Yeah. It's a curio, but it was a success, but it also wasn't such a runaway success that people go, oh, well, if we just put out one of these every couple years, we'll have our own horror franchise, baby. I don't think anyone views it as particularly successful creatively.
and then a year later, Tales from the Crypt came out, and it was kind of all over after that point.
Yeah, it basically steals everyone's bacon. And then everyone on cable's like, well, how do we do something akin to this? And yet, like, HBO had been doing something akin to it the entire time, which is The Hitcher. And we've talked about one of those episodes on our Patreon.
Well, the Hitchhiker, I think, was more hold a little more closely to erotic thriller than horror, whereas Tales of the Crypt was straight up pretty much horror all the time.
I would say it's like Alfred Hitchcock with boobs. It was always like a thriller.
Alfred Hitchcock, emphasis on the cock. Am I right?
Finally. But stay tuned, everyone, because I think there's another Hitcher episode that we need to talk about, and I've sent Gina the link for it, but that's down the road. Stay tuned for that bad boy. So let's talk about The Cat from Hell, which, weirdly enough, it was almost happening within Creepshow 2, but because Creepshow 2 had such a string of naysayers and production difficulties, they booted The Cat from Hell as they felt it was just too much work. So that got booted down the road, and now we have it here in Tales from the Darkside. And the reason why it's a little bit above everything else they have to offer is, A, the story comes from Stephen King, so there's a little bit of meat on the bone. And 2, the script is George A. Romero. Everything else is kind of is Michael McDowell, who is credited as the original writer on Beetlejuice.
Yeah, I think it was funny that if you watched or heard rather our episode on Cat's Eye,
mm-hmm.
This is basically like the same story, but written from the mom's perspective,
right?
where yes, the cat is actually evil.
And we get an equal amount of cat vision. Now, if you had to mano a mano a cat vision, would you go Cat from Hell or Cat's Eye?
Well, for some reason, I mean, I guess to make it more apparent, whose point of view you're supposed to be seeing. The cat from Hell is colorblind, apparently. Right. I don't know if that's true.
I don't know if that's true either. It seems to also be purple on the edges, or maybe that was just the copy I was watching. So I can't tell if that was an intentional thing or just what I got to watch on Paramount Plus. But
I think I watched it on Prime, and I think I got the same thing. So I think that was intentional.
All right. So this is basically a two-hander with a couple of flashbacks, which are also in a blue sepia tone. That's the other
yeah, it also
device.
appeared to take place in like 1924.
That's the thing, Gina. The flashbacks all feature people who are old, exclusively with the idea that they're old when it happens, but they are dressed like it is the 1920s. Like the Gage, the butler, is wearing spats.
Yeah, and the sister's got the cigarette holder.
Yeah. And her friend in quotes, because obviously they're a lesbian couple, is in a flapper dress.
Yeah, it's like, are they ghosts?
I mean, are any of us alive? Is this a simulation? If this is a simulation, why do we podcast? Huh? Tell me that. Did I just blow your mind?
I think I did. Blew it right through my hat.
So in this two-hander, we have Halston, played by, as I mentioned before, hot actor of the moment, Buster Poindexter, a.k.a. David Johansen of the New York Dolls. He's been summoned by professional old man William Hickey to do what he does best, and that is kill something. Halston is a professional hitman. And William Hickey is playing a guy named Drogan, who believes that a cat is responsible for several deaths in his home. And if Halston can put the cat outside for good, he'll be a Rico. Okay, that's it for the Buster Poindexter references. I'm just calling it right here.
If you want to find out more, check Spotify.
But he's like, for whatever reason, I want you to kill this cat. And the cat immediately jumps into Buster Poindexter's lap, and he doesn't say, just kill that fucking cat right now. Just snap its neck. For whatever reason, he's like, let me tell you a minute, like a 2-minute long story with flashbacks. And if do you want the cat dead or not? Anyways, Drogan lived in this mansion with his sister, Amanda, her quote-unquote friend, Carolyn, and their butler, Gage. Gage wears spats. Carolyn's in a fucking flapper dress. We don't know why they're dressed like they're from a different time, but for whatever reason they are. So Drogan says, when the cat arrives, it's going to kill us all. And no one believes him because who would fucking believe him, Gina?
Yeah, this cat is very small.
Yeah. Very unassuming. Does not look physically imposing. Likes milk or cream or whatever the hell they're fucking serving it. But it's not dissuaded by the butler throwing used beer cans at him and keeps coming back. And then Amanda says, I'm keeping the cat no matter what. And it's not 15 seconds later that she's walking down the stairs and the cat trips her and she ends up snapping her neck at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah, and the friend, quote unquote, decides that, well, now we have to keep the cat, which is odd.
Yes. I mean, no one witnesses the tripping component of that. They just assume that it happens. But then I think the second weirdest thing in this entire movie happens, which is Carolyn is in bed, also still wearing that flapper dress, as if they have only given her one costume, which they may have done. And for whatever reason, the cat, Gina, I hate to be indelicate, the cat face fucks her to death.
Yeah, it looks like Drogan does a whole, like Cat's Eye. Well, the legend has it that cats steal people's breath, and you see this little like fake cat paw like come out against her mouth, and it's like, okay, and then it kind of launches itself at her face.
Yeah, originally it's a paw up against her lips, like hush. like, shh. And then when she wakes up, the cat's like, I'm wrapped around your face.
It's like it's laying eggs in her chest.
Yes, it's like a face hugger from fucking Alien. And she just kind of flails around for a bit. And the cat just digs in to the point where she doesn't have any oxygen left. The thing is, if a cat latches itself to your head, it does in fact leave a mark, like blood is shown here. But then he goes, well, the doctor said it was natural causes. Natural causes generally doesn't leave a bleeding scalp. You know what I mean? But somehow, I mean, the sight of this cat wrapped around this person's face is fucking ridiculous. And I can't tell if she's laying down or sitting up because it presents the scene both ways.
Right. Yeah.
And then after that, you're kind of like, well, now you have my attention. Once you see a cat face fuck a person to death, you're like, okay, tripping down the stairs, that can happen to anyone. This cat is that when it face hugs a person and they're dead and donezo, I'm now paying attention. I'm into this again. And then it's like, I asked my butler to capture the cat. They do. They put it in a very flimsy picnic basket. And he's like, take it to like a shelter and have them kill it. And it's
I'm just like,
again.
you know, like, why are you even going to all this trouble? You know,
Right.
if you think the cat has you know, has done all these things, I guess how the butler put the basket in the driveway to back the car over it.
Exactly. Like
Or toss it off a bridge or something.
Yeah, like put some rocks, tie bungee cord some rocks to that bad boy and send it to the bottom of the ocean. But for whatever reason, he's like, take it to a vet on the other side of town in the middle of the night. And of course, that cat gets out of the picnic basket and swipes Gage across the face. And then the camera does a
It does a little Batman thing where
Yes.
like everything spins like you're inside a dryer.
And you just get sound effects of a car crash. And you're like, wow. Like this is straight out of like a 1930s cereal for children that was made for $50 in a prayer.
Well, that's what makes the ending so, startling. It does get pretty gory.
Yeah, but up until that point, you're like, this is a little safe, the face fucking notwithstanding.
I mean, the cat does shred his balls.
Yes, we're getting there. We're getting there, Gina. Please, we have to go in order. Otherwise, everyone will be lost. The story is so complex. William Hickey reveals, as Drogon, that he developed a very powerful drug to help people get high after they've had heart attacks.
It sounds great, honestly.
Yeah.
I wish I had some.
I would be on it 24/7. And it's a very powerful drug, but it took killing 5,000 cats to make it possible. And Drogon is pounding those pills. Like he is pilled out. But he's like, hey, I'm going to give you 50 grand. There's another 50 grand waiting for you once you bring me that dead cat. I'm going to go into town. I have the taxi waiting. See you when I see you. And so then what you have left here is like 7 straight minutes of what I believe is Stephen King dry running his eventual short story Battleground, in which a hitman must go to war against a legion of small plastic army men figures. But it's a cat. It's just one of those things where an idea got stuck in his head and he tried it out a couple of times. And Battleground's the better version of it, but Cat from Hell is the one that actually made it to the screen first.
Well, you basically got it becomes a one-man show after that point because you've got David Johansen. He's addressing the cat, but essentially talking to himself.
It's monologuing from this
right,
point
where
on,
he's talking about I never blow a hit, I never blow, and then every couple of minutes, then like someone throws a puppet at him.
Yeah, just it skirts by and he shoots a clock. But you basically he's like Drogon is going out like everything you could ever want is here, and then it's just Johansson complaining about the quality of the booze.
I mean, he has a point. He has a point that when he opens up the refrigerator, it's like a single egg in there.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Everything you need does not mean I've got 3 eggs sitting loose in a fucking fridge. Like, how does this guy live? He's just pounding those pills to live, I guess.
Yeah, there's like no sign of like a nurse or anybody looking after him, even though he's wheelchair bound.
Yeah, he can barely make it up the fucking ramp into a living room. He has to have help with that. But he doesn't have anyone on staff. He's just like rolling around, occasionally cracking a raw egg into his mouth. How is this guy alive? And then to accompany Johansson monologuing 24/7 is just random Casio musings. Just someone going, "Bubba-dee-doo-doo-doo," on a Casio, and you're like, that's not a theme. This isn't, you're not enhancing this scene. It's just someone going, how about these 5 notes? And
yeah, there's and again, I don't actually remember the third segment at all. No. Like I when I was reading the plot synopsis of Wikipedia, some of Lot 249 came back to me. Mm-hmm. But I'm reading the description of the third one. I'm like, did I leave the theater before this one? I don't remember this one in the slightest. Yeah. But for the first 2 at least, and certainly for the framing story, which is the part with Debbie Harry, there is a certain air of, let's call it half-assness to a lot of the proceedings. Mm-hmm. With like the music and to a certain point the special effects. You were saying that even though the flashbacks when presumably took place over a period of at least a few days, nobody ever changes their clothes, and it's just there's a sort of that'll do kind of feeling to a lot of it.
And then like it's just not, it doesn't feel particularly well thought out. Like they know where their money is, which is a cat climbing down a guy's throat. But getting there, you figure you would at least have a couple like suspense sequences, or he walks into a room and it's the kitchen and knives are used all over. It never really pops off that way. And I think nothing typifies that by the fact that he pulls open this briefcase of, things he uses to kill people. And he grabs a hypodermic needle and puts heroin into it. And then goes, hey, this is real heroin. I'm going to stick it in you, cat. And he doesn't. And you're like, why did you think heroin was the way to go to kill a cat?
Yeah, I'm thinking like I am obviously, against animal cruelty. Yeah. But in the 20 minutes or so that I watched this segment, I thought of at least 10 different ways they could have killed this cat.
Yes. And almost none of them are tried. I mean, the guy has guns and eventually gets to that place, but literally has to have a pieces level shot of the cat digging into his junk, and not his heroin, mind you, his junk downstairs, before he's like, all right, time to get a fucking gun. And then he can't seem to aim the gun very well.
Like, I'm not sure why Drogon just doesn't put out like, a bowl of cat food with rat poison in it or something.
Yes. Yeah. Nothing comes back to bite him in the ass. Like, oh, I set up this trap. Oh no, the trap worked against me. All the things you would expect to have happen don't, because it's just too lazy to even set those things up. It's just like him monologuing, playing pool, and the cat swings by room after room and, takes his ankle out, rips his balls, swipes his cheek. Okay, I guess, but it's all just like leading up to this moment where he's like shooting at random things, and finally the cat runs from across the room. just and up into his face. And I'm assuming this is the reason why you hire a David Johansen, because he has the size of mouth. You think maybe a cat can fit in there.
Yeah, you get him or you get Steven Tyler. Either of those two.
Yeah, and this way your scarf on a microphone stand budget goes way down, because David Johansen just doesn't have time for that. If scarves are going to be anywhere, they're going to be on him, not on a microphone stand. But yeah, that cat just jumps in his fucking mouth. And there's this whole sequence where he's down on the ground and it's forcing itself down his throat. And then a shot goes to his stomach. The bottom part of his stomach distends.
It's sort of like that old I think it was either Pepto-Bismol or Alka-Seltzer, where it would show the person eating something, they'd be like, indigestion, and like their stomach would get all bloated.
Yeah, it's that, but a cat, a furry black cat.
Is this cat actually like some sort of demon cat? Is that is it unkillable?
I think it's a death curse. He is the Jason Voorhees of cats. He's just a death curse because Drogon killed all those cats to make his drug and he got rich off of it by killing sentient creatures. This cat has been endorsed by whatever cat god is out there to take him out. And so he kills off David Johansen and lives in his tum-tum for the night. And then when Drogon comes back in the morning, he finds surprise, this dead body in the middle of the floor, and he just rolls right up to it because he's in a wheelchair. And then all of a sudden, Tum Tum starts moving, and the cat, instead of chest bursting, just reverses course. Now, why the cat lived all night inside of David Johansen's Tum Tum like a Luke Skywalker on the ice planet Hoth, I cannot tell you.
I was just thinking the same thing. What cracks me up though is that even though all of this is in revenge to Drogon actually gets like the most like humane death. He just dies of a heart attack. Like when
he just gets a scarred.
Yeah, when the cat bursts out, like he's like ah! And then like he's that's it. He's done.
I can handle a chipmunk coming out of a Christmas tree, but when a cat comes out of a throat, it's too much.
I have to assume the cat ate him. Yeah, because cats supposedly eat corpses, but
sure. So it ate from the inside out. It just it hollowed out this random hitman. And then when it hears a noise on the outside, it's like, hey, what you doing? And the guy's like, oh, dead. And that's it. That's the story.
It's a little, I mean, like I said, certainly for the time period, obviously now you can really see that the makeup is not so good. But I mean, the concept is pretty gruesome. Yes. And so that that is definitely, there's a reason why this is the only part anybody remembers from this movie.
Because it's memorable.
Yeah.
It's what it comes down to.
It's goofy, but it's also kind of grisly at the same time.
Yeah. It's just a crazy enough concept to be sticky. Whereas everything else is stuff you've seen before, done not so great. And it's not to say that this is done better. It's just that the ideas are stickier. And so that leaves us with choosing our own death venture, and that's where we decide of the deaths portrayed in this segment of Tales from the Darkside. If you were to force yourself to die in one of those ways, which one would you choose and why? You have trip and fall down a very long staircase, smothered by cat junk, I guess, is what it comes down to. Car accident and immolation. Have a cat jump down your motherfucking throat and live in your tum-tum for a little while, or heart attack. Gina, I choose you to go first.
You know what? I would say heart attack, but at the same time, I mean, having a cat, climb down your throat is Yeah, that's a pretty, no one's going to forget that. And also, it gives people an opportunity to make a, in Soviet Russia, pussy it's you joke.
And that is the most
I said I wasn't going to do that. I'm sorry, people. I had no self-control. I'm so weak.
But you waited until we were all the way in at the end, though. You teased and then you paid off. And that's what makes you a professional podcaster.
Next time I'll do better, I promise.
The way I'm going to go is be smothered by cat junk. I think that would be warm and fuzzy and a way to go.
Those little cat nuts in your face.
Yeah, just
it could be a girl cat. It could be a girl cat. We don't know.
We don't know, and it doesn't matter. Honestly, we respect its privacy up until the point it gets right up in your face. And at that point, my eyes are in that cat's armpits. I don't know which way that's going. So, and I just think I would look good in a flapper dress. That's what it comes down to.
You could definitely pull off the old timey cigarette holder.
Yes. Yes. I would look very fancy with a cigarette holder. I would be coughing all the time, smoking cigarettes, but I would look fancy, and that's the most important part. So that pretty much does it for this particular edition of Kill by Kill Bite Size. Gina, where can people find you on these here internets?
I write about television and movies at thespool.net. I have a Substack, GinaWatchesThings.substack.com. And I am on Blue Sky and Instagram and TikTok under Gina Does Things.
We're on all your socials, people. Just look out for us. We got our Patreon, which is super cool, where you do cool things like commentaries. We answer your questions on Chat by Chat and do special bonus episodes every single month. And of course, Josh Hollis does all of our artwork, and Revenge Body at RevengeBodyMemphis@bandcamp.com is where you can find this remix and all our other themes. That just about does it. We are coming close to the end of Bite Size, everybody. One more episode to go. Which segment will we cover and why is up to my poor taste and proposing to Gina, and if it's available for us to watch. That's the only things that keep us going here on Bite Size. But we will be wrapping up next episode and then moving on to another mini-series. After this, of course, at Halloween, we've got lots of cool stuff coming your way, so I would hold on for that stuff too. But that just does it for us. Don't worry, folks. The body count will continue for myself and for Gina. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.